All right, so solving and graphing inequalities. This kind of graphing is not difficult graphing because it's not the whole XY axis thing. It's number line graphing, okay, which is actually very easy. So, a couple things we need to know. We need to understand what the inequality symbol stands for. What is the symbol that means greater than? It's like a little arrow pointing to the right. What means greater than or equal to? It's if I take that same arrow and what do I do to it? Put a line under it. What means less than?
Opposite direction.
Opposite direction. Okay. I like to think that one looks kind of like an L. Like a squished L. And that's how you remember less than looks like an L. Okay. And then less than or equal to would be that guy right there. Okay? You need to know those symbols, and you need to be able to speak intelligently about those symbols, meaning that try not to say that this is greater than or less than. People say that because that doesn't make sense. Greater than or less than. Okay? Try and keep your greater than and your less than. Again, the less than symbols, you write them the same way as you would write an L. Right? Down, right. Down, right. Okay. So, we are going to do three things here. We are going to solve the inequality. We are going to graph its solution. And we are going to describe the meaning in words. So, my first inequality looks pretty basic. N plus 15 is what? What's that symbol? Greater than 19. So, my goal is to get the letter by itself. Same exact goal I had when I was solving equations. Yeah? So if I need to get the letter by itself, what do I need to do? Subtract 15 from both sides. That's going to leave me with an N over here. My greater than symbol stays as is. And 19 minus 15 is... So, that is my answer to part A. Part A says solve the inequality. Done. Part B says graph its solution. I'm going to get to that in a minute. Part C says describe this in words. So I'm going to write part C over here. In words, what does this mean? N is greater than 4. Well, that doesn't tell me what it means. That says what it says, right?
Any number greater than 4 can be N.
So N can be any number greater than 4. That's what this is saying, right? Is that any number for N that's greater than 4 will make this a true statement. Right? Okay. So, I'm going to go graph it. What do you think the important point is on my graph? 4. Absolutely. 4 is my important point. Now, something we need to come back up here for is we're going to draw a circle on 4, but we have to see what kind of circle. If we have greater than, we draw an open circle. If we have less than, we draw an open circle. If we have greater than or equal to, we draw a closed circle. And if we have less than or equal to, we also draw a closed circle. Have you done this before?
Yes.
Okay. So, on 4, what am I going to draw? Open circle. Now, draw me a big, obnoxious open circle so that I can tell it's open. Okay? And then where are the numbers that are greater than 4? Are they to the right of that circle or to the left? Right. To the right. So I'm going to shade to the right, and I actually shade like this just to make it clear what direction I'm shading. And then I'm going to darken that arrow to show that it keeps going on. Easy? So that was part B. So there's part A, part B is the graph, and part C is this. Yeah? Let's look at number 2. Part A says to solve it. So let's see. X over 19 is what? Less than negative 6. How am I going to get x by itself? Multiply by 19. So that's going to cancel. X is less than, I need my calculator for this one, negative 6 times 19 is negative 114. Now, just a little hint on your homework. You will be given the number lines. If you get a number that's not there, the error is somewhere in this process. The error is not with the number line, it's with your answer. Make sense? So that way you can see, oh shoot, I got 20. That's not even close. I must have done something wrong. So go back and fix it. All right, open or close circle. Actually, let me box my answer there. Open or close circle on negative 114. Open. And before I do that, let me do my part C. What would I say in words? I would say x can be what? Less than negative 114. All right, so what direction am I going to shade, left or right? So I shade like this, so that way it's very clear what direction I'm shading. Okay. The reason why I shade like that with the little zigzag thing is because when you have a number line, I can't tell you how many people will graph their number line and they'll do a circle like that, and I can't tell if it's open or closed, and then they'll do this. And I'm like, come on, really? Like, I can't tell whether that's open or closed. I can barely tell that that's shaded to the right. Okay? So that's why I say be obnoxious with your circle. Yes, that circle is probably bigger than it needs to be, but it's very clear what I'm trying to say, isn't it? Okay? So make sure that you're obnoxious with that, like I said. All right. So that was part B. Should we try the next one? All right. First part is solved. 33 is what? Less than or equal to 3 parentheses, negative 1 plus n. What do I do first? Distribute. Notice that these are the exact same steps you did before. That's negative 3 plus 3n. Now what? Add 3. So 36 is less than or equal to 3n. Now what? And 36 divided by 3 is 12. So 12 is less than or equal to n. Remember when I talked last chapter about how it's important to keep track of your equal sign? It's incredibly important to keep track of this because what side n is on tells you what direction you're going to be shading, right? So it's very important to know what side you're on and to stay on that side. So what would I say here? Because my n is on the right side. That's kind of funky. So n can be any number, what? Any number, what? No, 12 is less than n, which means n has to be what? Greater than 12. So n can be any number greater or equal to 12. Okay? So, when I go to graph it over here, am I going to put an open or a closed circle on 12? I'm going to do a closed circle on 12, right? Okay, so I have the closed circle on 12, and then what direction am I going to shade? If n can be any number greater than or equal to, it's going to be to the right. Now, Mrs. Franken, I don't get it because your statement says greater than or equal to, but your sign says less than or equal to. That's confusing, isn't it? Well, if I were to write it with the letter on the left, like those ones were, if the letter was on the left, do you see how the open part is by the N? The open part would have to be by the N still. So when the letter is on the left, it does say N is greater than or equal to 12. So if it's easier for you to just flip it all around, including the sign, go for it. If not, you can go straight from here to your graph. Okay? All right, I want you to try the last one. All right, so the last one, let's see. 2n plus 5, parentheses, 6n plus 2 is what? Greater than negative 246. All right, what do I do first? Distribute. Plus 30n plus 10 is greater than negative 246. Now I have two like terms on the same side of the equal sign, right? Or the same side of the inequality sign. Yes? So 2 plus 30 is 32n plus 10 is greater than negative 246. Now what do I do? Subtract 10. 32n is greater than what? And the last step, divide by, and I'm running out of room, so I'm going to come up here. N is greater than negative 256 divided by 3. Negative 256 divided by 32 is negative 8. I was like, that's a crazy number there. So there's my solve part. In words, what is that? N can be any number greater than negative 8. So open or close circle on negative 8. And what direction am I going to shade? By the way, do you know why we say greater than instead of bigger than? Nope. I'll show you why. Because if I did this, which number's bigger?
2.
Is 2 bigger than 4?
Yes.
It is bigger than 4, but it's not greater than 4. Right? So bigger is a size measurement, not a value. That's why we say greater than. Okay? All right. Happy studying.